check out the Opperman Report Patreon. We have all the shows that you hear Monday through Friday on AM/FM radio, but we cut out the ads, so you can hear that content ad-free. The Opperman Report Patreon, you should stop there once a day and check out what's going on over there. That's Opperman Report Patreon.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Then you better come in. It's just ability, that reason that we're so thin. Living and dying, and the stories that are true. Sink into a collapse, knowing when you're through. Black coat, white shoes, red hair, Cadillac, yeah. The boys are time bomb. Black coat, white shoes, red hair, Cadillac, yeah. The boys are time bomb. I was back in the hole where they got him living like a rapper. He's smarter than that. 9 lives like a cat, 15 years old. Take them to the youth authority home. First thing you learn, you gotta make it in this world alone. Black coat, white shoes, white hat, Cadillac, yeah. The boys are time bomb. Black coat, white shoes, white hat, Cadillac, yeah. The boys are time bomb. Now he's gone out, he got free, he got a cook, got a car. He's 21 years old, he's running numbers from the bar. He's paid his people, he's getting deep in whatever he can move on, and you know that kid's a creepin'. Black coat, white shoes, white hat, Cadillac, yeah. The boys are time bomb. Black coat, white shoes, white hat, Cadillac. The boys are time bomb. The boys are time bomb. Tears come from the razor that's been tattooed below his eye. His mother cries, she knows that he is strong enough to die. He's rolling in the Cadillac, his midnight, some roof is down. 3 shots right out of here and then the Doom King is crowned. Black coat, white shoes, black hat, Cadillac, yeah. The boys are time bomb. Black coat, white shoes, black hat, Cadillac, yeah. The boys are time bomb. Black coat, white shoes, black hat, Cadillac, yeah. The boys are time bomb. Black coat, white shoes, black hat, Cadillac, yeah. The boys are time bomb. Time bomb.
Okay, the boys a time bomb. Your boy here's a time bomb too. Welcome to the Opperman Report. I am your host, private investigator, time bomb Ed Opperman. About to go off. About to go off here, aren't you? I didn't have my white shoes and my black hat on, or my Cadillac. Welcome to the Opperman Report. I am your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. You can find me at Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting by emailing me. Now, if you want a PI, you email me at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. See how easy that is? There's also a phone number. You can leave me a message, 800-572-9762. Okay? I was going to make and also, too, if you want our archives, you can find at Spreaker.com. I do a live show every Friday night. You find me there. 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That's where we play the new podcast. The new podcast content comes out on Friday nights at Spreaker.com. So if you listen on YouTube or anything like that, if you listen on Spreaker, you get to hear the music. You get to hear why I'm screaming I'm a time bomb. You wouldn't know if you're listening on YouTube. You're saying, what's this man talking about? He's not a time bomb. Little do you know. But listen, find me there on Spreaker. We've got Patreon. If you like the show, you go to Patreon. All the ads cut out. I'm putting up on Patreon right now. We're really excited. Good old Ed there, who runs the the Patreon for me. I sent him some tapes that Hank Harrison has of Courtney Love, and that guy too who died on the train tracks too. That Hank has recordings with these people, and it sounds like it's some really good stuff. I got to confess, I never listened to it. Okay, so that's going up on Patreon, and I'm gonna even hit up TMZ and stuff like that and see if we give them little clips and see if they want to help promote the good old Opperman Report show. But I do want to address an issue at the beginning of the show rather than the end of the show, because I know more people listen at the beginning of the show. That is the messages and the phone calls and the text messages and the private messages and all this kind of stuff that goes on after the show. When I finish the show, I'm kind of tired, okay? Or I'm going out, I'm going to go out, or I got to do, play other shows. So it's really not polite to start messaging me and texting me and stuff like that in the middle of the night. Or if you're looking to hire me, I give you an email to contact me from, to contact me. Not through Facebook or Instagram or any of these other places, Twitter, to try. None of those places are even secure messages, okay? Twitter is totally hacked, man. There's a bunch of really weird, sick people that read my Twitter messages. Really dangerous people. You talk about this guy today that blew himself up and set himself on fire. Okay, I got people like that, okay, in my life. Okay, just like that guy. Trust me, man. This is no joke. You want to get a hold of me? You want to tell me something? 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, you send me an email. Okay, that's polite. All right. And God forbid, if you're somebody, and I give you my private information and you're contacting me in the middle of the night, over nonsense, man, please, I don't need that. And if you're trying to hire me, you contact me and say, hey, Ed, this is my problem. Okay, can you help me with this problem? Don't contact me and says, hey, Ed, where do you live these days? Hey, Ed, are you licensed over here? Are you licensed in this state? I don't want to discuss where I live with anybody. Okay, that's none of your business. Okay, if you're coming to me for help, say, hey, Ed, I need your help. And that's it. I'm a time bomb tonight, okay? All right, I watched a guy set himself on fire today on live. Okay, I was watching that thing live as it happened. Just happened to be looking up, man. I see a fire out in front of the Trump thing. I see a guy twisting around on the ground, man. What do you call that? Writhing on the ground? Hey, by the way, Ed in the chat room, is it okay if I use your last name when I talk about you or not? How do you prefer that? Send me a little note there, okay? But it sounds like there's really good stuff in that Courtney Love stuff. But please, guys, respect my privacy and respect my time. Messaging me at 3:00 in the morning, about nonsense. Give me a break, guys, please. That's really rude. I don't deserve that, man. Okay, and I had a rough day to begin with. I don't know if you guys watched this thing on the news today about this guy setting himself on fire. But that's the typical Opperman Report listener. Okay, I saw this thing live. We started looking into it. I got a hold of his manifesto right away. For some reason, I can't get that PDF to. It's not correct. It's not. I can't get it on Patreon. I can't get it to post it. But it's out there now. Everybody has it by now. And by the way, too, like the people in the chat room that I've known for 10 years, okay, you guys are cool, man. You guys are cool. I don't mind that, man. There's people I've been friends with on this show for 10 years, okay? And I got to say, there's one of them this week I had to block him. What are you messaging me at 3:00 in the morning, man, about nonsense, That's just not cool, But anyway, like I was saying, I watched this guy set himself on fire today. And I go looking into it. And, my estimation of this poor fellow, he seemed to be a really cool guy and a popular guy. He was like a small plane pilot. And he had this wedding, and everybody at the wedding looked really, it was a cool wedding. And I know I have some information about his wife or ex-wife or whatever that situation is there. And it seems like he took a turn after the death of his mother in 2019, and he got involved in this conspiracy and this researching. Now, I got to tell you, I hear from people like this every day. I hear from people like this. Ed, I've researched this thing. Let me send you this manifesto. I want you to read it. And it's not far-fetched for someone like this to show up at my door and set himself on fire in front of me, while I'm live on the air. Okay, that's not beyond the scope of what could go on out there. So, I take this stuff seriously, man. But anyway, and it turns out, I don't know how much I want to go into this, but there's this little, these two young ladies on Instagram and TikTok. They're trying to break this world record. And so I've been following, it's entertaining, it's very humorous, they got great energy, and the goofy kids, when they're on this little trip, trying to break this Guinness Book of World Records. And, I see today this crazy guy who set himself on fire. He follows them too. Okay. So this is even closer into my little orbit here, my little world. So it gets a little creepy out there. So that's one of the things I wanted to touch on. Because a lot of times I'll mention this I'll rant and rave about people calling me and bothering me at the end of the show. So I want to catch people when they're still awake. Okay. All right, coming up after this, after my live show here, we have Justice for a Grant. Okay. And that's this fascinating story about this young man, 18 years old. He was a star athlete, 6'5". I interviewed his mother. And a very mysterious death. He meets with his dad for the first time in a long time. They have, there's allegations against the father. It's a small town. The father was a local celebrity. He knew the mayor. He knew the, police chief. And so kind of like, with me, like I know back in Vegas at least, I knew, you get to know people when you're on the radio. He was on TV, this guy. And, a very mysterious death of his son, who his own truck rolled over himself. And he was found kind of under the truck. The injuries don't kind of match up to a truck accident. And there were a bunch of guys there, some suspicious guys just happened to be there for the dad. So anyway, we got that show coming up tonight. It's a good show. Then after that, Doug Papa, who's a podcaster from Las Vegas, comes back. And I was hoping to talk to him. I had him on before, remember, about that show about those judges and that pimp Shane Valentine in Vegas. And how this pimp was pimping out the daughters of these judges and these cops and these detectives, and people were getting killed, and there were shootouts. He's shooting into a house and getting barely any charges. And I had him come on about that. I tried to explain the story myself, but I did a horrible job doing it. But he's done so many, and he knew everybody involved. So I had him come on the show about a year ago to tell us that story. And he came back. I thought we were going to talk about October 1st, the October 1st shooting in Vegas. That Pollock, the guy with the Mandalay Bay shooting. But it turns out he just started talking about his experience as a cop and how he knows Frank Serpico very well. He talks to him every week. And it turns out I'm not going to be able to get Serpico. He's talked to him about getting Serpico on my show. He won't do it. But winds up telling me this story about after he leaves the police force in Herndon, Virginia, because of this big scandal, this corruption thing going on over there, which is bad enough as it starts off. But then he gets contacted by this other group of cops that are working for the Cult Awareness Network, and they're running around kidnapping people. Now, everybody knew how, the Cult Awareness Network were kidnapping people to deprogram them. But he starts telling me, too, hey, they were kidnapping people to deprogram them from lesbianism, not just from being involved in cults. These were like relatives, just kidnapping relatives and just trying to, Anyway, then these were cops, a bunch of cops. Some of them were active cops running around doing all these kidnappings. He went to work for the FBI undercover, and he rounded. And it was one of the deals had to do with Lyndon LaRouche, too. So there's two good shows tonight. These are two good shows. And I taped this week. I taped this week with Matthew Ricker. Came back. He's the guy who wrote that book about Kurt Cobain. He wrote it with Tom Grant. Well, he's very disillusioned with Tom Grant. He has some problems with Tom Grant right now. And it was a very interesting conversation. And, I told him about how I have those tapes of Courtney Love and Hank Harrison and stuff like that. And I didn't even know what was on, but I hear tonight that's a lot of really good stuff on those tapes that I'm going to go up in Patreon. So I'm talking to Matthew Ricker, and he's laying out a story here. And as I'm listening to it, I'm hearing this story about how it almost seems that Courtney Love is smart. Okay? She's not stupid. And she's seen all the rumors and conspiracy theories around Jim Morrison and Jimi Hendrix and all this stuff. Even Elvis, all these kind of mysterious, these conspiracy theories, where they killed, all this stuff. And so it would be the smart move, just like the Warren Commission and the JFK assassination, to have a patsy, and to have somebody come in and kind of fudge up the investigation, to have some kind of amateur investigator come in. I've always had my suspicions about many parts of that investigation. Hank had problems with Tom Grant. A lot of things like that. And my experience after, and 10 years now later, it's like seeing how the Epstein story, how they come in, they have these people write these books, these shady books. They come out of nowhere. Nobody knows who the hell they are, and they're writing these books like they're experts on the topic. Like how they can kind of manipulate the story. They can, like the Warren Commission and the JFK, how they come in there and they manipulate the story and they package it for you. So it seems all nice and cool, like it all makes sense, but it's really a controlled story. Now, and you think me, you say, oh, Ed, come on. Does Courtney Love have that kind of juice to pull that off? Yeah, she does, man. She was really close in there with David Geffen, with some really serious guys, And I think she could. And even to her stuff, with Woody Harrelson and the Flint story there, she has the juice to pull that kind of thing off. She's not the sloppy person people think she is. She had connections with Chuck Zito and stuff, She could pull this off, And that's how it's starting to look to me, man. Like the whole revelation of Tom Grant saying, hey, by the way, I think it was a murder, but this whole revelation of Tom Grant, I'm the investigator and I'm, because it's such a serious thing too for an investigator to turn against their client and start publicly accusing their client of crimes. That's a big move, man. Like, and the smart move in that kind of deal was if he did have this information about, he asked for money. That's how people would do that, in a situation like that. So I'm very familiar with how all these things work. And we're going to be talking about that later. Because we're going to be talking about the whole Stormy Daniels thing too. So, that's just how these things work. That's how it's done. That's the shortest route from start to finish. Not this whole thing of, I'm going to expose this. That's just not how it works. So, this Matthew Ricker, it's a new wrinkle in the story. So I played the repeat, the first interview with Matthew Ricker, got a lot of response from that. And it seems like there's a lot of buzz around this now because he went on another show before me. But he was very excited in fact, he reached out to me to come on the show here because he knew I've talked to other people like John Potash and, of course, Hank Harrison, my relationship with Hank. And soaked in bleach and stuff like that, And so anyway, that's where we are with the whole Courtney Love stuff. I'm really looking forward to playing that show for you next week. I kind of hoped I had more juice to pull out for you on that tonight, but I guess I don't. So that's what's going on now. Oh, I get this. I was so sick this week, man. You have no idea. Past couple of nights, I've been getting this like low blood sugar, kind of thing. We get that, what do they call it? Hypoglycemic, what they call it? But anyway, I've been having it the past couple of nights with these sweats and stuff. And I was taping with a guy this week. I'm not going to say who it was, but I just let the guy talk, man. I had to get up and go and get water. I just took my headphone. I've never done this in 10 years. The guy's talking away about his story here. And he was doing a good job. So I said, okay, fine. So I take my headphones off, and I walk into, I get in water. I'm looking for some kind of sugar to eat, some kind of breakfast, energy bars. And stuff. I've never done that in my life in 10 years. But I got to tell you, man, guys, my health is not that good, and I'm kind of falling apart here. But I'm doing the best I can. See, that's another point I want to make. I'm really trying to do the best I can here, to plug these shows out for you each week, the extra content and stuff. And then something like this comes up, with this guy setting himself on fire, and digging up that info and getting it out to you there. I'd like to get out to you on Patreon and then just plug the Patreon thing, but I just couldn't do it. So when you start, like messaging me in the middle of the night, you're hurting my work, and plus I have paying clients that I have to respond to. It's not this. So I don't want to chat with people in the middle of the night, man. It's really rude. So I'm really begging you guys not to do that to me, okay? We stop doing that. Thank you. Okay, we all agree, right? We're going to stop that? Okay, thank you. I see a show of hands. We're all stopping. Okay, let's look at the notes. I'm already exhausted. I'm ready for bed. Okay. My God, hey, you see this flooding in Dubai? What the hell's going on there? All this stuff we're seeing, like the 911 service going down, I think it was in 4 different states, and we don't know how it happened. All this stuff, this container ship knocking down a bridge. It seems like in some of this conflict we have here with Russia and Israel and all this stuff going back and forth, that there could be some cyber attacks going on against the United States. We could be under cyber attack. And this Dubai flooding could be produced with the cloud seeding, weather manipulation, weather warfare. We may be seeing all these things we've heard about and worried about. We may be seeing it going on right before our eyes in real time. There's no reason why not to suspect it. Israel and Iran going at each other. I understand there's even some more conflict going on today. I haven't been in front of a TV set or radio or anything in the past few hours. So, okay. The show's title tonight is about things you're going to hear about the Stormy Daniels trial. You're not going to hear anybody out anywhere else. And that's an absolute fact. Some of the people listening, in fact, majority, will know about my relationship with Gina Rodriguez. And I met her when she was the agent and manager for the Tiger Woods Mistresses. And then she brought me a bunch of cases with Ashton Kutcher, and she got me into the Tiger Woods deal. She initially got me into that whole Sarah Palin case, the whole Charlie Sheen thing. She was behind that. She was the manager for Octomom. She was the manager for Honey Boo Boo and Mama June. And she was also on that TV show. I think she's a producer of that TV show, Mama June. And the reason why I bring her up, okay, she was my client. She was my agent. She got me on Dr. Drew. She was booking all those people on Dr. Drew. What was that thing? The house with the drugs, the drug addict house thing. She was booking all that stuff. That was her job. So it's not well known yet, but it's gonna be that she was the agent for Stormy Daniels. She is the one that Stormy Daniels went to shop this deal around. Okay? And then the attorney they used was my client, Keith Davidson, who here sponsors the show here. Okay? Now, I don't play the ads anymore. We just play them on the stations. I don't play them anymore because too many complaints. I don't play them anymore on the podcast. Okay? I only play them on the radio stations. So, but he's still a sponsor and still a client. And by the way, that's the kind of clients I'm looking for. I'm not looking for these little jobs you guys want, and where people want to hire me and say, "Hey Ed, I'll sign up for your Patreon for a year if you'll do this job." No, man, I'm not looking for that. Okay, if you want the Patreon, become a Patreon. If you want a job, you can hire me if I want that job. What I really want is lawsuits. I want big lawsuits, something I can work on for a year. I don't want these little jobs. I hate to be complaining like this, but it's just, you got people call me up in the middle of the night, man, and message me in the middle of the night. It's really wrong, guys. So anyway, we have this. By the way, Gina was behind Wienergate too. Okay, she was behind Wienergate too. Now, people, when I start talking about this, on social media, and I'll say, hey, did you know that the agent for Honey Boo Boo is also the agent for Stormy Daniels, who put together this NDA deal? And people say, well, I never heard that. Right? How can I verify that? Right? How can we verify that? Well, I'm telling you, she was my client. She was my agent. I know these people. My name is in somebody's text, okay? When they're talking about it, because at one point, Stormy Daniels went missing, and the text between Cohen and Davidson, they're saying, the agent can find her. The agent can find her because she has this PI who can find people. Because there was another, I think I told this story a couple of times, because she was also the agent behind the White House party crashers, Tariq and Mikhail Salahi. And when they went missing, I bet that I can probably still do it if I had to. I got a guy I can probably get and do this. But at the time, you could ping a cell phone and get a location of a cell phone. And so, so they knew if I really had to, they can come to me and I could locate the location of Stormy Daniels by pinging her phone. They, so they knew they. So anyway. So, but I'll post this stuff and say, hey, she had a really close relationship with Michael Lohan. Gina Rodriguez did. Who's going to be a witness against Donald Trump in this case? It's funny. When OJ died, I got all these contacted. WABC in New York radio contacted me. They wanted me to come on the air over there at 3 o'clock in the morning on some radio show as some kind of expert on OJ. I'm not an expert on OJ. One time some guy posted this thing saying, Ed's going to say for the 300th time that he worked on the OJ case. I've never worked on the OJ case at all. So I don't know where that comes from, but somehow I'm considered an expert on the OJ case. I was even interviewed one time, too, by Matt Connaughton. Was a nice guy. And I want to talk about the Hunter Biden laptop, but the first 15 minutes he wanted to talk to me about OJ. I don't know why, but some people, for some reason, they think I'm an expert on OJ. But then when something I'm really an expert on, no one's contacting me. I don't know what's going on here. Or they don't believe me. Hey, can anybody verify this? So the theory is, if I post a picture of Gina with Honey Boo Boo, and I says, hey, did you know that the agent for Stormy Daniels was also the person who put together the Stormy Daniels deal was also the agent for Honey Boo Boo? And people are saying, well, can anybody verify this? Can anybody yeah, you can verify it through me. You're not going to find it through, because what they want is, they don't want to verify it from somebody who's actually involved in all this. They want it verified by a link you can Google. See? And these same people who are insisting for a link that they can Google, okay, are the same people who complain about how Zuckerberg filters all this up. So they want to find it through this filter of censorship that they're complaining about. Because everything is so twisted and backwards, and people have just lost all touch with reality. And if you go when I go flipping through TikTok and Instagram Reels and stuff like that, and I see all these wild, crazy conspiracy theories, man. And they're so short attention span. They're done now for people with really short attention spans. And I've been really upset about this week, because now people are like lumping me in with these little weirdos. You see these people, these toothless, in their home, pointing a camera at themselves with a Tic Tac, and they're wearing a T-shirt with holes in it, and they got no teeth, and they're this crazy rants they're ranting and raving about. They have no involvement with anything, but hey, they're a TikToker just like Ed. They're a YouTuber just like Ed. They're a podcaster just like Ed. My biggest regret in life right now is ever getting involved with this podcasting, YouTubing crap, okay? I'm just mixed in with a bunch of nuts and losers. People will tell me, hey, Ed, man, you got to get this guy on the show. Okay, who is he? His name is Petey Poo Poo. What? Yeah, Ed. Well, what is Petey Poo Poo? What's going on there? Ed, Petey Poo was a great researcher. And he's doing these great YouTubes and a podcast about the Process Church. And he's got all this. Well, how's he involved with? Oh, no. He's a researcher. He's researching. And he's coming up with all this information. Just like this guy who set himself on fire, man. Okay, today. Okay? There's no difference, man. These anonymous clowns and these characters. And over the years, man, what I found that all of them, these are all shady, crazy people. From Revolution Radio on today. And then even more and more and more, I see these guys got direct connections to National Security Agency, got direct connections to all kind of Fed operations, man, where they're kidnapping people at gunpoint in mosques, and they'll let them go. Okay? All kind of shady connections, man. And just about every time I've had one of these anonymous Peter Poo-Poo guys on the show, okay, with their fake names and their Twitter handles with these tens of thousands of followers. These people come out of nowhere with tens of thousands of followers. Every single time I look into them, they got some stuff going on. Or they're connected with these same folks that I got pinned. I know exactly identified who they are. So, we got this situation here, okay, where for some reason, no one's talking about this connection to this Stormy Daniels case, to all this other stuff. This is interesting stuff. Why aren't people talking? Honey Boo Boo, Stormy Daniels? That's not interesting? Why isn't more people talking about that? You'd think, just for the novelty of it, you know? The absurdity of it. You'd think you'd bring this up. But no, it's not mentioned anywhere. And the one guy who's talking about it, well, how can we verify this? Where's the link? Well, there's not going to be a link, man. There's not going to be a link. Okay, it'll probably come out the day she testifies. Or maybe the day Keith testifies. I don't know. But just it's such a bizarre situation we're in. And I got to tell you, man, like if you read this guy's manifesto from today, it's the same kind of stuff that these people who contact me every day with these, and I get this stuff all the time, and by the way, when you read this guy's manifesto, basically what he's saying is Peter Thiel and Bitcoin and stuff like that, and these capitalists are greedy and behaving unfairly with us. Okay, and both the Democrats and the Republicans are involved in it. That's what this poor guy uncovered with his research and set himself on fire to draw attention to. And what's even more heartbreaking is that a couple hours after this, man, as soon as they did the first press conference, no one's talking about this at all. No one's talking about this poor guy who gave up his life thinking, oh, I'm going to set the world on fire and set these Peter Thiel, set them a-running, by when I release my information here and my manifesto. This breaks my heart. It just breaks my heart because I see so many people out there with that same thought process. If you're thinking of setting yourself on fire, man, don't do it. Or if you think I get this all the time, Ed, I've got this most groundbreaking information. You talk to him for a couple of minutes, and you say, man, this guy's got a problem. So the guy has a problem coming to me with this information. There's another story that came out this week where this woman, I forget her name, so I apologize about this, but she's a TikToker. And basically all she did was read NT Lawyer's blind items. She would read NT Lawyer, would read his drops. And then, put up some pictures of P. Diddy and stuff like that and talk about it. And so now people are convinced, well, she was murdered. We don't know the cause of death yet. We know she had COVID. She was complaining about having long-term COVID and brain damage from COVID. We know she just survived cancer. Okay, and now she's dead. We don't know her cause of death, but it had to be murder. The conclusion is already, it's murder. Well, why wouldn't they just murder Enty? I've had Enty on my show. Why wouldn't they murder me? You know what I mean? I'm involved in this stuff directly. Why would they murder me? I got my problems. I am not kid you there. Okay. But they're going to murder some TikToker who's just reading NT stuff? That's crazy. But that's what we do. That's what we've come to now. After 10 years of trying to bring in this kind of information, this alt information, oh my God, I just broke my microphone. I just unscrewed my microphone. I would have to play a song or someone fix this. Let me play some music. Sorry about that, guys. Oh my God, this is the craziest thing. I gotta take a picture of this. It's the craziest thing. Okay, let's find a song. Okay, hold on. Oh my God, that's the funniest thing that ever happened to me on air. My mic totally unscrewed. I was holding them because I have an arm, one of those arms that hold the microphone. Oh my God. Okay. Okay, well, and this poor woman has some kind of, who knows what the cause of death is, man, but give me a break. We're going to jump to conclusions that she's murdered right away. Why? Because it gives you chills. You know what I mean? This is ridiculous. I'm so frustrated. Okay, I really think this whole public life with this radio and stuff like that was a big mistake, man. I met some people, I met some cool people and stuff like that, and I got involved. I probably never would have got involved in the Epstein case without this, but I don't know, man. I don't know. One of the things this woman was the whole P. Diddy thing, right? This whole P. Diddy scandal. Because NT and her, they've been talking about this for quite a while. Now, I've been talking about this Jonathan Odie, okay, about this, there's a YouTube video out there about Jonathan Odie. Now, what the story with him is he went into Trump's Doral golf course in Miami, and he shot the joint up. And he's slipping around, sliding on the floors. They're shooting over his shoulders at the cops. It's a pretty funny video, okay, when they show that part. And then he got shot himself a couple of times, and they got him in a hospital gown. And he's sitting there talking to U.S. Secret Service, and he starts talking about all this stuff with P. Diddy and all the, this, the Freemasons and the Illuminati and all this kind of stuff, and sex trafficking and all. And he did get a settlement. He came into some money. He gets arrested. This is like 3 years ago, by the way, guys, and there's still been no trial with this guy. So I'm saying, well, this is a serious anomaly in this guy's case here. And I talked about it several weeks, it's kind of corroborated because he talks about the Cassie lawsuit and details on the Cassie lawsuit before that lawsuit was filed. And so she wouldn't know anything about what he said in this interrogation by the Secret Service, and he wouldn't know what's coming up 2 years later in her lawsuit. So that kind of corroborates it. That's good corroboration. You want to take it to court and you want to prove a case. Okay? Now, but I look over his cases. What this case hasn't been. There's no disposition of this case. There's no guilty plea or trial. Nothing. 3 years later, and he's got a witness list like 150 people long. Or I don't know if it's his witness list or the prosecution witness list, but the witness list in that case is insanely long for a guy on video shooting at cops. Okay, I don't know idea. What's the witness going to say? Well, I see him slipping on the floor. The gun, he was cleaning his gun on the floor with a mop, when a gun went off and shot 4 cops. Okay, so I don't know. So one of our long-time listeners, okay, we've been chatting about this. Amanda, you might know her. She used to be in the chat room under the name Maybe for years, 10 years ago. So we've been chatting back and forth about this, right? And she says, there's some scuttlebutt out there in the, the Twitterverse, the YouTubers. I think even Petey Poo Poo would agree with this. That's it's a suspicion that he's working with the feds, that he's cooperating with the feds as a witness against Diddy. And I got to tell you, as soon as she said that, man, a big light went off over my head. Okay. I can make a bad joke, but I won't. Big light goes off, right? And that makes perfect sense, okay? Because he's being interrogated by these U.S. Secret Service agents. And he's reporting all these crimes to them. Trafficking, drugs, all this stuff. They have a responsibility to refer that to the FBI, to the DEA, to Homeland Security. They have to, especially U.S. Secret Service agents, they got a lot of scrutiny. As you know, I was involved with the investigation against U.S. Secret Service for Joel Lieberman. Just so weird, man. All this stuff going on that I'm involved in. Lieberman dies, and then OJ dies, and just very strange stuff going on lately. They would have a responsibility to make that referral, the criminal referral to the different agencies. And it would make sense that he's cooperating and he's working with them now. And it would make sense, too, that they would leak that YouTube or release that YouTube interrogation a couple of months before they raid P. Diddy's house to get the public ready. Hey, P. Diddy's a crook. P. Diddy's a slime. We got a case against him. It's a solid case. You don't do raids like that. If an arrest is not coming, if there's not a conviction, if you got a federal case indictment, 97% conviction rate, and then you got to do 85% of your time. So good old P. Diddy looks like will be spending the rest of his life in prison if he does not escape and get out of here. So the whole Jonathan Odie thing, you want to keep an eye on that. Thanks to our friend there, Amber. It's funny. I look at my notes here sometimes, and I know that when I wrote them down, I was all passionate about the things I wanted to talk about. But then when I see them when I'm live, I just I don't know. I just can't muster up that same kind of enthusiasm for it. But by the way, too, everyone's doing this whole thing with P. Diddy. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, I'm not studying the indictments and stuff and all these lawsuits. But as far as I understand, there's only one allegation of underage sex trafficking, one 17-year-old girl. So all this stuff about P. Diddy being Epstein, blah, 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 if I'm wrong, show me. I'd like to see it. I'm not aware of it. But so as far as I know, it's only one instance of underage sex trafficking. Most of the sex trafficking is adults and it's drugs and the illegal gun possession. This guy's got some trouble, man. And his son too has another lawsuit just recently too. Now, me, I talk about Matt Gaetz a lot, okay? And I got a lot of stuff. It's not my story. I know a lot of stuff about Matt Gaetz, but it's not my story to tell. So, but someday we will be able to tell it. And my minor involvement in that. But a report came out about Matt Gaetz this week. He's under investigation with the Ethics Committee in the House. We know about that. We know that there's litigation around his friend Joel Greenberg. Couldn't think of her name. Joel Greenberg. That fascinating guy who made the IEDs with the tannerite in his lawn, and he held the cops off at gunpoint. And the cops are out in their cars joking around about how he got caught talking to little girls on his computer. And don't worry, turn yourself in. We're not going to search you. And he's saying, I'll be dope sick in prison. I'll be dope sick in prison. Right out in the open. These buddies with these cops. And they're talking about his dope use. Anybody else you get pulled over, you stand off with the cops, you're threatening to kill him with tannerite, you know? Yeah, you know, a whole different ride to that station than Mr. Greenberg guy, that's for sure. But he's got some litigation in the background, too. He's trying to get juice on Gates. Now, there is a report out right now that's in circulation of Gates at a party with this underage 17-year-old and with this 20-year-old where they had drugs and alcohol and stuff like that and then sex with these kids. Now, you got to even think, man, let's say he's innocent. You know, what kind of adult party do you want to be at with a 17-year-old kid? You know, I can't think of any, you know, even when I was coaching my kids basketball and stuff like that, like, it's a chore to hang around with these kids. Who wants this beef with hanging around with these kids? It just makes no sense. Why would he want to do this? A 17-year-old kid, what do they have to contribute? Even they're a pretty-looking kid. You know, what do they have to contribute? So anyway, there's Matt Gaetz. Keep an eye on this, man. There is more dirt on this guy. I got a little energy back, man. I really wish I would have continued. I don't have the energy to do it. Okay, let's see what's going on. Hey. What else? Arizona abortion. Now, did you know that this Arizona abortion law, this 1800 law, did you know that at the time of this law, you could get married at 10 years old in the state of Arizona. It wasn't even a state, by the way, at the time of this abortion law that they passed in Arizona. And it's the craziest thing because the national GOP is trying to get this thing reversed. The Democrats are not trying so hard to get it because it's good for the it's just so wild. It's good for the Democrats. You know, the Democrats don't want this actual law. They don't want to have abortion made illegal in Arizona. But for them, for the general election, it's good for them. They've done the polling. They know this works for them. They know this is going to flip the state for them. The nationwide Republicans know this is going to flip the state for them. But these local extremists in Arizona keep affirming this law. So it's the craziest thing in the world. Now, I know there's a lot of confusion, you know, or misrepresentation or misunderstanding. You know, some people will call me like a right-wing conservative, you know, because I'm a Christian. You know, well, he's a right-wing conservative. And other people say, well, he's a communist. I'm not afraid to say what I am. I'm a socialist. I'm a Christian. I am conservative on some issues, but I'm certainly not right-wing, especially on most socialist and no economic issues. So I don't know where these characters, I guess people just don't understand. But now, my position on abortion, the number one reason, because I live in the real world, okay? I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't get my information from, you know, I get my information from the real world, from reality, which is so freaking rare these days. So many people just get their information from these memes and stuff. It's just, I'm so scared of what's happening to us as a society. We're falling apart right before my eyes. But my understanding of abortion, when I first became a born-again Christian, you know, and I went, and they says, oh, well, now you got to be anti-abortion. I said, well, why is that? There's nothing in the Bible about abortion. And they did perform abortions back in those days at the time of Jesus. And it wasn't, they did abortions, you know, no mention of it whatsoever. And you can't legislate salvation. You know, you can't have a theocracy where I'm forcing you, I'm creating laws for you to follow my religious beliefs. I'm against that, clearly. But now, the number one reason that people get abortions is economic reasons. Poverty is the number one reason. I can't afford to raise this kid. Okay? And unless a miracle happens, I hit the lottery or something, I'm not going to afford to raise this kid. It's going to be a nightmare for my life. The kid's going to be harmed. It won't be a happy life for this child. I can't do it. But what they present to us in the media is that these are career women that are too busy to raise children, so it's inconvenient for them. But that's not what it is, man. The people who get abortions are homeless. They're drug addicts. These are people on the borderline of poverty, if anything. Those are the people who are getting abortions. So just outlawing abortions without bringing in another solution to this just creates more problems. And birthing children with preemies, with deformities, with all kinds of issues. That's the issue. It's not this business about, well, no exemption for rape or incest. It's minuscule. There's minuscule abortions due to rape or incest. Minuscule. Not even a portion of 1%. Most abortions are poverty. If we're going to stop the ability to do an abortion, then you have to solve that issue. And there's no reason why we can't. There's no reason why we can't. We can send money to Ukraine and all this stuff like that. All these bombs all over the joint. We can't. We want to save these little babies' lives, and then we got to come up with a solution, a financial solution, a safety net, and birth control. With more widespread availability of birth control and birth control education. This is how you stop it, man. This is a mystery, like the only solution is either this is legal or illegal. That's the only solution. We're not going to look at any other possible solution. Why? And the whole thing too. We're seeing the self-destruction of the GOP in the House of Representatives, led by Marjorie Taylor Greene. This wacky freshman congresswoman with the divorces and the affairs. She's a gym owner. And she's deciding who's going to be the Speaker of the House. She's got this new plan to take down the Speaker Johnson there. And it's probably going to succeed where they wind up with a Democrat Speaker. Because it's such a mess. These people are just so self-destructive. And if we think it's bad now, and by the way, look back at my old shows and look at all the stuff I predicted. Okay, look at everything I predicted. What I've talked about before. It's happened so many times in life. I've got a little experience. I've got a little knowledge in my life, a little wisdom. Okay, I got a nice big gray beard now. It shows all my wisdom, my whisker wisdom. Okay, if we think it's bad now, with complete and utter wacko drug addicts, floozies, and sluts and perverts like Matt Gaetz and Boebert and George Santos, out and out frauds and con men and credit card fraud and pickpockets. The guy might as well be a pickpocket. He was probably picking people's pockets, stealing purses in the House of Representatives, the Congress there. Good old George Santos. Okay? If we think it's bad now with this cast of characters in there, wait until another 3 or 4 years or 5 years where the people that are getting elected are, where do they come out of? Podcasters, YouTubers, Twitterers, people with 100,000 Twitter followers are going to be the next people running for House of Representatives, for Congress. Podcasters with no qualifications of anything. Peter Poo-Poo. He'll be Senator Peter Poo-Poo. Congressman Peter Poo-Poo. Okay, I wonder if they'll start using their real names when they get elected. I'm going to look at the time, and I'm going to hope and pray that the time is over. And yes, it is. Here we go. I made it. I made it through another Friday night without a heart attack. All right, guys. By the way, I still need some help with those TikToks and Reels and stuff, man. I really do, man. We can get some volunteers out there. Especially now when we got this Courtney Love information. Those would make some great TikToks and Reels. Make a name for yourself in the TikTok Reel world. I get so much great stuff, man. in the chat room right now, I got some great guys who helped me out over the years. I'm a wonderful woman who's been a great support and a great friend. But I just wish, man, so many people out there that say, oh, and I love to help you. I wish some people would just come through and, let's get some stuff happening. I want to set myself on fire. Okay, how's that if I don't? All right? That's it. All right, guys. We do need some subscribers at Patreon to pay the bills around here. And also, too, if you're listening on YouTube, if you would just switch over to Spreaker, just those little extra numbers and those little extra plays, and if people could share the show and retweet it and stuff like that, because where we are right now is I do these live read ads, which pay differently than the ads you just insert. So they look over your numbers and they look over your stuff like that. So if we had more numbers, a little more traffic there, which we could get with the TikToks and the Reels, if I could learn to do it myself, but I just got so much going on. Have a great night, all of you. A good night to all. Ed Parnell, my good man. Thank you so much. He's my friend there who's working on the Courtney Love tapes for me. He said I can use his last name. I'll call him Ed Parsmell. So he says I can call him anything I want. Ed Parsmells. All right, guys. Coming up after this will be first Justice for Grant and then good old Doug Papa, my friend there from Las Vegas. Thank you so much. Oh, my outro song here is Chris Christopherson from the movie Cisco Pike, which is a great movie, man. And a friend of mine is in it. Good old Wavy Gravy, Hugh Romney, has a bit cameo part in there. And a neighbor of mine, Antonio Fargas, who was a neighbor in Las Vegas, and when I lived there, I used to see him sometimes with Smokey Robinson. I used to see him with. He used to go visit Smokey Robinson, who was a neighbor of mine too in Las Vegas. Anyway, most realistic movie, except for the parts with Gene Hackman. As far as a day-to-day pot dealer in the 70s, just going through your notebook and hitting the payphone and sitting there making the phone calls and making having people, meeting people out in different spots and parking lots and stuff. That's the most realistic pot dealer movie that I've ever seen. Okay, especially for that period of time before all this Miami Vice stuff came along. It's a very accurate movie, and you could find it online for free. All right, my friends, good night.
See him wasted on the sidewalks in his jacket and his jeans, wearing yesterday's misfortunes like a smile. Once he had a future full of money, love, and dreams, which he spent like they was going out of style. And he keeps right on a-changing, for the better or the worse, searching for a shrine he's never found, never knowing if believing is a blessing or a curse, or if the going up was worth the coming down. He's a poet, he's a picker, he's a prophet, he's a pusher, he's a pilgrim and a preacher, and a problem when he's stoned. He's a walking contradiction, partly truth and partly fiction, taking ever wrong direction on his lonely way back home. He has tasted good and evil in your bedrooms and your bars, and he's traded in tomorrow for today, running from his devil's lord and reaching for the stars, and losing all he loved along the way. But if this world keeps right on turning, for the better or the worse, and all he ever gets is older and around, from the rocking of the cradle to the rolling of the hearse, the going up was worth the coming down. He's a poet, he's a picker, he's a prophet, he's a pusher, he's a pilgrim and a preacher and a problem when he is stoned. He's a walking contradiction, partly truth and partly fiction, taking ever wrong direction on his lonely way back home. He's a poet, he's a picker, he's a prophet, he's a pusher, he's a pilgrim and a preacher and a problem when he is stoned. He's a walking contradiction, partly truth and partly fiction, taking ever wrong direction on his lonely way back home. It's in the back. 20 keys, right?
Yeah.